I'll make this quick. Me and my friend's Etsy shop is now open. We will be selling all of these amazing pieces that we have thrifted and created and made our own. We've been working with clay, moss, flowers, all of those fun things to create these little projects, and we're super proud of them. If you're interested in any of the pieces, there's also going to be more than is shown. I will have a link to our Etsy in the description. I love you. Let's get into the video. Hey y'all, I'm back and I have more of your Let's Not Meet stories that I cannot wait to read. These seem so interesting and honestly so different from a lot of the stories that we've read, especially the second one. But hopping right into it, this says neighbor with a question mark. So I'm going to assume it's not their neighbor. Hi, this is my first time writing / submitting a story on here, and this happened a while ago, so hopefully I don't forget anything. Disclaimer, all the names I use are fake. Sorry if it's long. This happened 2 years ago when I was 15. For reference, I live in the countryside in a very small area. It's very safe and there's more empty fields than houses. My grandparents only live a few houses down from me, a 3-minute walk maybe, and everyone knows everyone. I frequently stayed home alone due to my older sister working, my dad working, and my mom was either at work or with my younger brother somewhere. Since it's pretty safe and nothing ever happens, the back door of my house is unlocked, which sounds really stupid, I know, but I had a key in case I needed to lock it. All of this information is important. So I was home alone, completely by myself one day. I was studying for an upcoming test in school and working on some projects in my living room, which has 2 windows, one facing the front of the house onto the road and one facing the back. I heard a knock on the door and looked up out the front window, thinking it was probably the postman. I go to the window out in the hallway, but don't see the post van, which is always parked right outside of our front gate. It was a different van, red with no company sign or anything. I sat back down in the sitting room, choosing to ignore it because hopefully the person would just go away. From the corner of my eye, I could see someone looking through the front window that faced me. I looked up and they went back to knocking on the front door. I sighed and reluctantly got up, my heart beating faster than usual because watching too many horror movies and true crime makes you paranoid. I didn't open the front door, instead choosing the safer option of opening the window beside it in the hallway. Outside the window stood a man, pretty tanned, curly brown hair, and a bit of a beard. He looked to be college age. He wasn't scary looking, which eased my nerves, but I still had an unsettling feeling in the pit of my stomach. Hi, I said nervously, being awkward as usual. Hi, the man said with a slightly charming smile, which didn't make me any less nervous. My name is Jack. I live a few houses down. Are your parents home? He said, his eyes darting around my house. At this point, I felt like I was gonna puke. Like I said, where I live, everyone knows everyone. And I had never seen him in my life. Being an absolute idiot, I blurted out that no, my parents aren't home and asked what he needed. I was meant to receive a package, but it never came. I was just wondering if maybe it was accidentally dropped off here. No packages came, sorry, I said quickly. Jack smiled again and began to just look at me intently, up and down. Not that it matters, but I was wearing a crop top and gray sweatpants, and being an insecure teenager, and a slightly revealing top made me want to die as this almost fully grown man stared at me. All right, thanks anyways, he said before walking off. I sighed in relief as I watched him walk away towards the red van parked across the road. You might think the bad feeling would go away, but it only grew. That's when something clicked. If Jack lived a few houses down, why would he need to drive up to my house? I turned my gaze away from the van for a second before hearing footsteps on the stones to the back of my house, towards my back door. Jack didn't leave. Somehow, something came over me, and before I knew it or could process what was happening, I had already ran to the back of the house and into the kitchen, which was beside the unlocked back door. I peeped out the kitchen window only to see him making his way to the door again. Something came over me, and I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I could and held it as I frantically looked for the key to lock the back door, finding it eventually. My blood almost instantly ran cold as I heard something grab my squeaky door handle and attempt to open it. Before he could, I tried to slam the door shut, but he continued to try and force the back door open. Fucking let me in, Jack yelled and kept banging on the door. Being 5'1" and extremely weak, I kept trying to push it back closed, but he was a grown man. He slid his hand in past the door frame and some instinct I didn't know I had kicked in, and I shut the door right on his hand, causing him to scream in pain. He took his hand back out, and as soon as he did, I locked the door. Before I could say anything or he could, he had already started to run off. I watched in horror as he jumped in the back of that same red van and it sped off. My mind was racing after that. I've never had something like that happen to me before. My head was reeling with theories of what could have happened to me if I didn't notice him not leave or hear his footsteps. So, to the man who pretended to live near me and tried to force his way inside my house, let's not meet again. Oh my god. No, because I actually can't. Oh my god. Fucking let me in. You're lying to me. And also the way he just jumped into the van. Like, he wasn't the one driving. I'm pretty sure they said he jumped into the back of the van and it sped off. I am so glad that you heard him. I am so glad. We're gonna move on to the next one. This says, to the client who attacked me and bit my leg several times, let's not meet. Hi coach, you can call me Lynn. This story is very recent, September 4th, 2024, but if there are any updates, I'll add them later. This is a long one, so buckle up. For some background, I work at a day program for adults with developmental disabilities. I've worked there for almost a year and I love my job. I love my clients and all of the work I do. I can even find the positives in the shitty parts, literally as I help them in the bathroom. I've dealt with many behaviors, minor bites, hair pulled or ripped out, kicked in the head, etc., and walked them off and have easily dealt with the clients afterwards, but this client made me want to quit. I am purposefully going to be vague when describing this client in particular because I don't want to get in trouble. I am bound by HIPAA, but I need to share this experience and get it off my chest. For the client's name, let's call him Pinchy, my boyfriend's not so affectionate name for him. Pinchy had been at our program for a couple of months. During these couple of months, he has grabbed, pinched, and scratched staff to the point of bruising and bleeding. I have scars on my hands from him. He also grabs and pinches female staff members' chests, breast area, to cause bruising and pain. After he does this, I've seen him smile and even laugh. If he knows something has caused you pain, he will do it again. As for his level of understanding, he knows he shouldn't hurt people. I've had enough interactions with him where he wasn't being aggressive to know this. Now to what happened yesterday. Pinchy started to become aggressive with my coworker N and I. Pinchy was on a chill-out chair. If you're not sure what that is, just type it into Google, that had wheels on it. I had locked the wheels earlier, but he unlocked them. He was chasing my coworker and I while sitting in the chair. He had already grabbed my chest and left a bad bruise, and N turned the chair to try and redirect him. He grabbed N's arm so hard that the image of the way he squeezed her skin is still stuck in my head. Also, there were about 7 other clients in the room aside from him, all with varying levels of disability. I was worried about my coworker and the other clients, so I stepped in between him and the table to try and help N. Never in my wildest dreams could I have predicted what came next. He grabbed onto my leg as hard as he could. N tried to get him off of me, but I told her to just call code. We have different codes that get set over the intercom, and anyone who's available has to come help. As she's on the phone calling code, I say something along the lines of, I think he's biting me. I couldn't look down. All I could think of was the pain and moving to make sure the other clients wouldn't get hurt because he was pushing me into the table where the clients were sitting. As soon as N called the code, I think a switch flipped because subconsciously I knew help was coming and I didn't have to be strong and protect others. I somehow turned away from the table and got it so that I had some open space behind me. I was sobbing from the pain, which is not like me. When I got kicked in the head, I was in pain, but I could laugh it off. I was in so much pain and trying to get away from him that I collapsed to the ground. Finally, when he let go, I crawled on my butt to the corner of the door. I saw other people were in the room and I took my moment to leave. I crawled through the door and stood up when I was in the hallway. Someone told me to go to the nurse's office, which we have for clients, and I limped my way there. I made eye contact with one of my other coworkers and he had the most shocked expression upon seeing me. The female nurse let me into the bathroom and helped me clean the wounds and take pictures of them. If you want to see, let me know, I'll post them. It doesn't bother me. I don't know if I can see that. They gave me ice packs and the male nurse drove me to the ER. So that brings me to today. I'm currently at home and workman's comp has me out until Monday. I have 3 marks that I can clearly identify as bites, one on my calf, one on the back of my knee, and one on my inner thigh. All injuries on my left leg. 2 of the bites broke skin through my pants, only superficially, and the ER gave me antibiotics for the next 5 days. I have several other bruises on my leg that I can't differentiate between bites and scratches or pinches. I walked with a limp most of today from pain, but it's getting better. Pinches is currently suspended from program until further notice, and I have no idea if he will eventually come back. Every single person, even higher ups who have done this for decades, said they have never seen anything like this. What bothers me most is that we, the people who work with him regularly, have been documenting his behavior, his unpredictability, and the enjoyment he gets from harming others at times. And my job has done almost nothing about it. I'm so frustrated it got to the point of me being injured to this extent, and I got lucky. I didn't need stitches or anything. It could have been so much worse. I know it could have been worse, but like insane what he did to you. Physically, I will heal, but I already know this has traumatized me. My friend took me out to dinner tonight, and I knew it wasn't possible, but I thought I heard his voice and I tensed up. When I think about what happened, I either have to make jokes or I'm gonna cry. I go back to work on Monday and I'm gonna ask to see the security footage of the incident so I can really understand what happened because my memory is a little foggy. If they do allow him back at the program, then I'm quitting. If I have any updates, I'll add them. Until then, even though I know it's possible, to the client who attacked me and bit me several times, let's never meet again. I'm sorry, but nobody should have to go through that. I don't know. Obviously it's sad, and I know you stated like he has some sort of developmental disability, but I just feel like, I don't know, there should be like a way to like prevent it before it gets to that point, especially if you aren't necessarily qualified to handle somebody to that extent. And then again, if he's doing it out of enjoyment, I don't know. It's so hard because it's like, does he understand or does he not? And I know you would probably know better than any of us watching this video. And if you're saying that he knows that he's not supposed to hurt people, why the fuck is he still there? Okay, last one. This says, we were teenagers, he was 25. He asked for money, stalked us, offered us illegal substances, tried getting us to buy alcohol, and stole. Let's not meet again. Trigger warning, illegal substances and alcohol are briefly and vaguely mentioned. The story happened around October/November in 2016. I was with a friend. We were best friends at the time. We became best friends around October 2014 while at school. After she moved down to the same area as me and joined the same school, and we stayed best friends up until about 2018, 2019. We were teenagers when this story happened, just a couple months before we turned 17. We were in town, we were meant to be going to college that day, but decided to not go and wandered around town instead. Disclaimer number 1, my friend was a lot more naive and innocent than me and hadn't had things as tough. I was more defensive, more aware, more logical and realistic out of the two of us, if that makes any sense. She was more sensitive too. We were at the bus station, just minding our own business, doing our own thing, having a cigarette, looking at our phones, chatting, that kind of thing, when this random guy comes along and stands by us. He starts chatting to us. He mentioned somewhere along the way that he was 25, almost 26, so 9, almost 10 years older than us. All we had with us were our handbags with normal everyday things and a carrier bag with some things we had bought, like snacks and drinks, which he said something like, "What do you got there?" and peeped his head in. Then carried on something like, "Ah, nice, snacks and stuff." It's like so awkward. He asks if we have a bit of change for the bus. I think he only asked for about 10p or something like that. I decided to give him some change out of decency and to see if he would go away. We didn't really want to interact with him, but we were trying to be pleasant. I thought he seemed a bit weird, odd, or dodgy from the start. He hangs around. He didn't really have anything with him at all. He then pulls out some small blue tablets from his jean pocket and says they're Valium and offered them to us. But I didn't believe it. Me and my friend looked at each other like, what the fuck? And of course said no. I wasn't gonna let that happen. This was a public area during daytime and there were other people around too. So it was a risky thing for him to do, but I thought to myself that it was good for us in case we needed help or witnesses. He also asked for our names. My name is Shannon, and my friend's name is a short name and starts with an R, so for this story I'm going to call her Roxy. We made up that we were Shauna and Roxy in this situation as we didn't want to tell him our real names. Disclaimer number 2. My dad got heavily into substances and alcohol a bit before I was born and was in and out of jail. This went on for years, and he died of an overdose the day before my 10th birthday. I'm so sorry. My mom always spoke to me about it and told me the truth, and I was brought up in the real world to that kind of stuff. So I'm very aware about that kind of stuff and the kind of things that can happen in the world. Once this happened, me and my friend decided to walk back into town up the high street. He followed us a long way back to the main part of town, which was only a couple-minute walk, if that, from the bus station. We thought we'd be safer, better, and even more public, and there would be security cameras in shops too, as well as more people, just in case anything happened. We only got partway up the high street and decided to walk into Tesco Express. He still followed us. He bumped into someone along the way who he called his uncle, and he tagged along too, which was all very weird. While we were in Tesco Express, he tried asking us for money for alcohol. I gave him a little bit more change to try to get him to shut up or leave us alone or something. He tried pressuring and convincing us to buy alcohol even though we were underage, and we said no multiple times. A member of staff behind the counter did look at us while this happened, but didn't do anything. She was serving someone at the time, but she was aware. Me and my friend walked out. As we were walking away, he picked up a beer bottle from the fridge section, put it under his jacket, put his arm around his so-called uncle, and walked out with it. How the alarms didn't go off, I have no idea. And sadly, there wasn't a security guard on duty or around at the time to witness this. Me and my friend got outside just before he came out. We stopped to try and figure things out, then he obviously came up to us again. We were trying so hard to stay pleasant, cool, calm, and casual. I would have been freaking the fuck out. We kept walking up the high street and he continued to follow us and try and talk to us, making conversation, etc. As we got to the indoor shopping center / mall, he came in beside us and there happened to be a stall inside with quirky little ornaments and things for sale. He sneakily picked up one as we went by and was going to steal it. He then turned back as if he was going to take it back or something. We were trying so hard this whole time to hardly interact with him, like as little as possible. As he turned back, me and my friend didn't look back and we just started speed walking and went quickly to the toilets. Luckily, there was a fair few shops and quite a few people about in town this day. It was nice weather, so people were out and about. This was good, so we could blend in and get through. Get to the toilets, stayed in there for a couple minutes. I think my friend started messaging a friend or her boyfriend at the time or something like that. After a couple minutes of standing, waiting, and chatting in the toilets, we then decided to go out to the back of the shopping center, round the corner a bit, and have a cigarette, while my friend was also messaging someone. She was almost pretty much crying and getting emotional. I was doing my best to stay calm. Also at the back of the shopping center, there's a bus stop and a few cameras, so more people and security just in case, which was good. We then walked back through the shopping center, through the front outside, up a lane, looped around, and then back to the high street. But before we got to the end of the lane to the high street, we saw him just going to walk by, so we stopped partway up this lane, hoping he would carry on and not see us. Unfortunately, he turned his head, looked up the lane and saw us, which concerned us. We dreaded it. I was hoping he would just carry on, forget about it, and leave us alone. He then said, "Hey," or "Oi," or something like that, and came up to us again. He said something like, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" and kept trying to make conversation. So we ended up walking back on the high street with him still there. He was very persistent. Somehow we managed to divert, blend in with other people, lose him, and get away. We went to KFC, sat down, got some food. We were worried we were going to see him again. While we were in there, we looked him up on Facebook. As we found out his name during this situation, we made sure to block all of his accounts. He had 2 Facebook accounts at the time. We didn't see him again for the rest of the time that we were in town. We bumped into another friend along the way. But later on, while we were still in town, close to 5:30, while we were still with our other friend we bumped into and telling him the situation as we're walking towards the bottom of the high street, towards the bus station again, we saw a man sitting on the floor. Looked rough and dodgy, not much with him, and we realized it was the man that had claimed to be his uncle earlier when all of this happened. Luckily, he didn't look at, notice, or recognize us, so we just carried on. We saw him a couple times afterwards in town over time. I've seen him a few times over the years in town still. Once I was in KFC by myself around 2017, and he came through and was asking for some change. Again, I said no. Luckily, he never recognized us, remembered us or what happened, and never approached us again or anything like that. In a way, I'm glad it happened to us and while I was there, rather than someone else. Because someone else could have been led further down a dark path or said yes to the substances and alcohol. I'm glad I'm very aware, realistic, and logical. It could have been so different and so much worse. He definitely didn't have good intentions, but I dread to think who else or how many others he's done this or something similar to, or worse. I also looked him up online, back then and since. There's a few articles about him and things that he's done locally. He's been to jail once that I know of. I also found that he had more Facebook accounts, which I blocked. So, dear Danny H., addict, thief, criminal, stalker, generally unpleasant person, let's not meet again. That is like just such an uncomfortable day to have. Like following you around all day. And like what you've been through is obviously horrific and tragic, and no child should ever have to experience going through something like that, or even like necessarily learning about those things in that way. I think everybody should be aware, but like learning about it, you know. And I agree, like I feel like you being in that situation, as shitty as it was, since you are so aware of everything that goes on, it's like, I don't know. Obviously, nobody deserves to be in that situation, but I am glad that your friend had you if they are like a little bit more like tempted, I guess. That's all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other creepy, scary stalker stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. Unfortunately, I don't have any rambling to do at the end of this video. Again, my life is taken up by crafts. That's about it. And if you saw at the beginning of this video, the Etsy shop is now open. Just a little reminder. But I love you guys so much. I will see you in the next one. Bye.